So this is going to have a dramatic impact on the crypto market. The Financial Accounting Services Board has officially adopted fair value accounting rules for crypto. Now, you're probably wondering, what does that even mean? Well, we're going to break it all down in this episode, but first I need to tell you who the FASB is. Of course, you guys know I got my notes. Now, they were established back in 1973, and they essentially set the financial accounting rules for public and private companies here in the United States. So if you have money on your books, you're doing it by their rules. Their rules are recognized by the SEC, as well as the Board of Accountancy and the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. So, again, if you're moving money here in the United States, you're doing it by their rules. So to understand the significance of this, you can look at it like this. Now, crypto companies that are operating here in the United States, they now have to follow the same rules and guidelines as traditional companies. That gives them a way in. Now, there are both good and bad details to this story. That is why I need to share this with you as soon as possible. And it also lends to another development that is going on the political side. We're going to touch on everything, but let's talk about what does this all mean. Well, under the current arrangement, crypto assets are classified as indefinite lived assets. The cost-less impairment accounting model only allows companies to write down the value of their crypto assets when their market value declines from their initial purchase price, but not to record gains when crypto prices are up. By contrast, the fair value accounting will simplify valuations to measure the value of a company's crypto based on its up-to-date market value during the relevant reporting period. So what this is going to look like is companies can report their profits and loss when related to crypto. This will also make that information publicly available to other investors. So, as I've been saying for almost 2 years now, as we enter this next cycle, the way we evaluate these assets have to change. And it's going to change dramatically, especially when we break down the rest of this article, because it doesn't apply to all cryptos. Like I said, there's a good and there's a bad thing. But let's stay with the good for a little bit longer, because on the other side of this, you have something called Deploying American Blockchain Act. This is something I actually did an episode about it. It's going to come out Sunday. Okay, so look out for that. I wanted to get this information out, though, right away because I felt that it was urgent. But this Deploying American Blockchains Act, if it goes through, it's already been voted in the House. It has one more voting process to go through before it gets sent to the president. If it makes it all the way up the ladder, it officially will kickstart the American crypto bull run in the sectors of payments, gaming, and the supply chain. Again, I got that episode coming out Sunday. Make sure you check that out. Have your subscriptions on, notification bell, all that good stuff. But guys, the landscape is about to change. The landscape is about to change. But let's talk about the bad side, because not all of these cryptos are going to be involved, and they explicitly state, they give us an idea of which ones are going to be excluded from this. So, not all things crypto are eligible. FASB requires the asset to be an intangible asset based on blockchain, secured by cryptography, and not created or issued by the reporting entity or its related parties. So, that immediately rules out ICOs. And they also talk about such assets must also be fungible and not provide asset holders with rights to or claims on underlying goods, services, or other assets. So that rules out what they are deeming as securities. This also includes NFTs and tokens backed by external assets. So let's break this down a little bit and figure out what intangible assets are based on blockchain, secured by cryptography, and not created or issued by the reporting entity. So, in a sense where this would apply to a crypto company, it's a thing where we can use Ripple as an example. because Ripple isn't issuing XRP, right? The XRP that they were given it came from the ledger initially. So when it comes to reporting of these XRP holdings, they can legally do that now. And reporting their profits and losses with this asset, if they're making money at it and it's good, it's going to attract more investors. Now, an example of an asset that maybe wouldn't fall under this is obviously definitely one of these meme coins, where the protocol or platform, they created a bunch in the beginning and now they're trying to market and promote themselves as a company, right? But see, the problem is if you go to buy that, if a company buys that asset, they can't report the profits and losses from purchasing that asset. That is going to have a dramatic impact on which cryptos are going to be invested into over the next 12 to 24 months, because none of this officially goes into effect until December 15th of next year. However, early adoption is permitted for both interim and annual financial statements. So this means that they're going to start doing this today. They could very well start today, start adding assets on their books. So now the conversation truly shifts to utility. Which assets have already attracted institutional interest? Which assets are already involved in asset tokenization? Things like that. And again, they must also be intangible assets. So Bitcoin is definitely atop of that list, because a company can invest in Bitcoin and Bitcoin isn't attached to anything. It's not connected to anybody, and it's not necessarily, the value of it isn't driven by the efforts of a single group. Those are going to be the assets that are going to attract the most value now because of these rules. I guarantee it. So how you have to look at this, you have to really get deep. You have to really get deep in your blockchain understanding going forward if you're looking to invest in the assets with power. Because again, now that these fair value accounting rules are in place, the game is changed. Period. The game is going to be officially changed, because now, again, they can report profits and loss of the assets that they invest in, but they can only invest in assets that are not connected directly to a reporting entity. So we're talking about standalone chains here without CEOs, without ownership. And there actually are a lot of them. And what this is also going to cause is a lot of heads of these chains to start backing away. This is going to bring in more decentralization. And then here's something else too. Now I want you to understand the structure of the governance with these blockchains, because that's going to be a crucial key. For example, Hedera made their network open source. Okay, they stepped away. Everybody stepped away from the day-to-day operations of the chain. Now the Hedera public ledger just runs on its own and people contribute to it. So because Hedera is set up like that, now institutions can have Hedera investments on their books, because none of the value that's being driven into the asset is derived from the efforts of the people that are running the asset, because it's open source and it's running on its own. That's an intangible asset. So that's the structure you're going to want to look for going forward in 2024. And honestly, when I think about it, when I apply it to the Elite 8 list, really maybe crypto.com, because of the, how they're so tied with the retail. There has to be a lot of people somewhere running things on a daily basis because of the things like the cards and everything else that crypto.com has going on. So now I wonder if that's a good or a bad thing. But when it comes to the other assets like the gaming, Immutable X, for example, here's something that stood out to me a couple days ago. Gaming tokens can't be looked at as securities because the effort, the value isn't derived from the effort of the gaming company. The value is derived from the effort of the player. So in essence, that's a job, right? If you look at it that way, that's a job. So that leaves the opportunity open based on these fair value accounting rules for gaming companies to hold Immutable X on their books, to hold Gala Games on their books, Decentraland, Sandbox, Axie, whichever direction they want to go. And again, the same thing applies to payments, DeFi, the supply chain, the setups where the asset is already been issued, all of it is in circulation, and the value of the asset is not derived from the efforts of the people who are managing the asset. Those are going to be the ones that are going to get a lot of attention from the institutional side because of these rules. And when I think about how Stellar Lumens is set up, again, all of their assets have been pretty much sent out, right? And it's the Stellar Development Foundation that is really the managing and the promoting side, right? So companies aren't investing in the Stellar Development Foundation. And if they do, then that's a different set of paperwork. But when it comes to investing in the XLM asset, the Lumen token, that's a completely different story. And now, because of these fair value accounting rules, companies can do that. So again, it lends to the urgency of why I had to get this information out as soon as I could, because this is a game changer. This is about to change the entire landscape. Another token that just popped into my head with a similar setup, Energy Web token. And we all know the climate is the center of discussion right now. So, and like I said, Sunday, I'm going to be releasing that episode about the changing political landscape, and we're going to talk about the Deploying of American Blockchains Act. Now, just to give you a primer, this act has already been voted on once. There's another vote that has to happen. If that vote passes, then it will get sent to the White House to be signed off on. If it makes it all the way up the ladder, here's what's going to happen. It's going to signal the American crypto bull run, because what this act does is allow American companies and American crypto companies to legally put forth their applications to the market. And in that specific press release, they actually talked more about the supply chain, because there's another act alongside this one promoting resiliency of American supply chains. They're going to digitize the entire supply chain in the United States, and they're trying to do it before the end of next year. So we have just entered the most interesting bull cycle I've ever seen. This is about to be a ride. But again, guys, just to recap, these fair value accounting rules for crypto, they begin December 15th of next year, but they are encouraging public and private companies to start doing it now. So what do you think that's going to mean for the market? I think it means great things. But that's the news, though. Let me know what you think down in the comments, guys. As always, you know what I want you to do. Have a great day. Have a prosperous day. And always remember, if that money is digital, so is the hustle.